Hello friends, and welcome to Dark Hour Haunted House. We are at Dark Hour Haunted House in Plano, Texas, and this video series is going to take you behind the scenes of how we do things here at Dark Hour. So first, a little history on Dark Hour. Dark Hour opened in 2013, and we are very fortunate and kind of in a unique situation to a lot of haunts in that we have a single owner investor, Miss Lucy Moore. She had a small professional haunt in 2011 and got hooked and decided I want to go big. So she assembled a team and she found a building, and so she lets us do what we do, and we're very grateful that she had the vision to do something on this scale. And that's what Dark Hour is it's all about scale. We get to do some stuff here that I've never even thought I would do in a haunted house, and it's pretty cool. And these posters are from every single event that we have done here at Dark Hour. We started out doing about 8 events a year. We did Halloween season, and then we did 7 off-season events. And when I say event, I mean a full-blown haunted house opening. So every single show is produced just like you would probably do for your haunt in September, where we have the cast and we figure out what the characters are going to be, and we figure out the new scares, and we figure out new areas, and we change the pathway. All of that we were doing 8 times a year, which is crazy to even think about at this point. But what that means is that we have produced, I think we're somewhere between 40 and 50 actual productions at this point. So every time we set them up and knock them down, we're somewhere, I believe 40, I want to say around 44 right now, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to count them and find out. But being here since 2013, 7 years doesn't sound like that long a time, but in the beginning we kept ourselves very, very busy. So stuff was always changing and happening. So right now we're standing in the front lobby where guests come in to buy tickets, and the doors are right over here behind us, and when they first come in they're greeted with this set right here. And we wanted to give some eye candy right off the bat, so when people walk in they can see the horse and the hearse and the shack and everything. And of course at night this is lit very dramatically. We have, you know, moonlight and candlelight and all kinds of stuff that makes this, you know, come to life on its own. And continuing with the scenery out front, we have the archway over here. All right, we are further into the lobby. We haven't even gotten in line yet. And as you can see, the scenery continues, and now we have these beautiful brick walls that we put up. This is our gimbal witch. This was built by Gorgalore, and the whole purpose of her is to give people something to look at before they even get in the show, but also to tell them the stories and the rules. We do events throughout the year, and depending on the time of year, she's going to have a different backstory. So the story may be about zombies or werewolves or leprechauns or whatever the theme of the show is. And if you hang out in the lobby and watch, the Gimbal Witch will tell you a short story that kind of sets up the event that you're about to go see. But right now I am standing on the stage that is in our queue line here at Dark Hour, and this is a pretty good sized stage. We have lots of live performances in here. We've had jugglers and dancers. We have an in-house singer right now, Cyrena, the singing witch, who comes out and does rock and pop songs with kind of a spooky twist. But this is set up kind of like a rock and roll concert. We have a lot of stage lighting along the back and sides here. And we show videos, and we shoot a lot of in-house videos to show with different monsters or themes throughout the year. Back before Krampus was a movie, we made a Monster Minute. Was a feature that we shot that kind of told people the story of like folklore from different monsters. And we had a segment like that for Krampus because no one knew who Krampus was before the movie came out. So that was one of the things that we show. We also have video cameras inside the haunt, reaction cams at high startle points, and what we call our scare cams. And we make compilations of the best reactions, and that's some other stuff that we show here on the big screen to people waiting in line. We took out some of the solid stage and put in this graded raised deck material that you're looking at. And you can't see from the audience, but we added some uplighting, and there's some fog machines and some air blast effects under here. So we've really got kind of some rock concert effects that we can do for some of these live shows. We actually run the stage one of two ways. In the off season, you wait in line and entertainment just happens up here. We ride it on a rolling schedule, how long on, how long off, and there's always something happening up here for you to watch while you wait in line. Halloween is a little bit different because we have so many more people coming through here, and we have to run the foot traffic a little bit differently. And we took that opportunity to use the stage to help tell the story even more. So what we started doing a few years ago to help with the traffic flow was the entire stage gets a set built over it. So all this stonework and the video wall and all this stuff gets covered up, and we build a very detailed set that goes with the theme of the show for the year. A couple of years ago, our Halloween theme was an asylum, and the main haunt had kind of an asylum overlay, and so the stage also had a hospital look to it. And what happened was during that hospital show, you met some characters, and it kind of set up the story that there was this evil force at work, and it was driving people nuts with magic and so on and so forth. But the point is, this goes from being more of a live entertainment rock concert type event during the off season, and it becomes more of a traditional theatrical play during Halloween. And I tell you that because we showed you all these effects under the stage, and these are just some of what we have, but we've added water effects, air effects, fog effects, pyro effects, video effects, and all of those tools we use to help tell the story to people who just got here and they may not know anything about the theme of the show for that year. But now that they're waiting in line and they're about to walk in, this tells them exactly what they're getting into, and it uses jokes and live actors and special effects to do the job. And then after Halloween, we strip it back down and it's more generic looking, which is what you're seeing right now. I mentioned that that's partially due to the flow of traffic, because out there in the lobby where we just were with the witch, we use that as kind of a holding area, and our actual queue line for Halloween is outside in the parking lot. So guests trickle in and fill that lobby area, and as it fills up, the stage show here plays with those live actors and special effects. It lasts about 3 to 4 minutes. Well, when that show ends, about half the people watching it have gone into the haunt. They're on the front half of the room. As soon as it ends, the people waiting in the lobby bleed in, fill in that extra space, and so now they're in the back half of the queue line in front of the stage. And while the show plays out again, they're in the back half, and they slowly move across to become the front half while they're watching the show. The show ends, and then the whole cycle repeats itself. And what that allows is that the ticket takers can always put people in from the parking lot, and the people at the entrance of the haunt are constantly putting people in the haunt, so that it kind of keeps the line moving in both areas. So these blinking red and blue lights behind me, right now we're using them at the stage for kind of a rock concert looks, and you have these little points of flashing light on the back of the set. But come close, and I want to show you what these guys really are. So this is the Gansom DMX, and this is a 12-volt little floodlight fixture, LED fixture. This fixture is the workhorse we use throughout the haunt. There are about 180 of these inside the haunted house itself. And they're not the only fixture in there, but they're the workhorse because they're plugged into our DMX system. Inside, they have 4 different colors of LEDs. They have blue, they have green, they have red, and they have white. And using those 4, you can mix together any color you can think of, mixing those 4 colors. And so that makes these very versatile. On top of that, you could program a sequence to make it strobe or to make it flicker like candlelight. So as you can see, this is a useful light, and that is why we made it the workhorse here at Dark Hour. The entire haunt has a web of DMX that can control all of the ambient lighting in the scenes, and I'll show you more about that right now. So I'm here with Andy, who is one of the techs here. Not just one of the techs here, she is my right hand. The tech crew at Dark Hour on a full-time basis consists of 2 people, myself and Andy here. The rest of our tech team shows up on show nights. So when we're running the show, we generally have 3 to 4 techs here. Andy and I are standing in the front of house booth, or the tech booth as it's sometimes called, and we are at the back of the stage area over there where we just were. You can see the stage and then the pit, we call it, in the middle, which is, you know, the queue line right before you go in the house. So this is our light board, and this is the brain of the entire DMX system. As I mentioned, the whole haunt has a web of DMX signal, and it controls lots of different lighting fixtures inside of it. And this is the brainchild here where we do all the programming and it does all the recording. But there's some pros to this. This has an iPad interface app so that I can take the iPad and I can walk through the haunt and I can use the iPad to change the way a room looks. And when I like it, I can record the cue here on the board and keep it. So the fact that I can walk around the show with an iPad and in real time see what a light design is going to look like. Again, in the beginning, we were doing 8 events a year. So when you're changing up your haunt almost every month, month and a half to be something totally different, 2 of the biggest factors are lighting and sound. Lighting and sound alone change an environment. So doing the infrastructure of this DMX system made it very easy to change up the haunt. Even if we didn't physically move lights, we could change the background noise and we could change the colors, and you've already got a different feel to the show. All your actors are now different characters, different monsters, and different costumes, and we actually do some physical scenic changes, and then it becomes like a completely different show. I talked about lighting, and now I'm going to talk about sound, and this is the brain for our sound system that we have throughout the whole show. This is actually 2/3 of the sound system. There's a third rack like this in the back of the building that controls 1/3 of the show. But we have a sound system in Dark Hour called QSYS, and it's by QSC, and it's basically, it's digital audio networking, but it's very similar to what you're going to find in airports, shopping malls, convention centers, theme park, anywhere that has large sections of built-in audio with different needs and capabilities. That's essentially what we have here. We don't reconfigure the system very often because we don't need to, but it's something nice to have around. Just like DMX on the light board, this does have its own iPad app. I can walk around the haunt with the iPad and control the volume levels in every scene. So as I walk through the show, I take the iPad or even my iPhone and set all the volume levels where they're supposed to be in the right areas, and then save it, and that's it. Everything's ready to go. On a show night, when we're ready to turn audio on, I push one button, everything comes on like that, and it's already at the proper volume level. One question I get asked a lot is, where do I get audio from? And it's 2 sources. One, if it's music, then it's probably from iTunes or some other music source. 2, if it's sound effects, there's a ton of resources for sound effects out there. We actually buy ours royalty-free. We do that for 2 reasons. It's a little more expensive, but the quality is definitely better, as well as it's royalty free. After you pay for it once, you own it, and you're never going to have anyone complaining that you're violating their copyright, and that's something you definitely want to pay attention to. It's a whole nother video altogether talking about ASCAP and BMI licensing, but that's something, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it and definitely look into it for your event. All the audio mixing I can do on my computer, and I use Audacity, and I decide if it's going to be straight sound effects or straight music or a mix of the 2, and I can layer them as needed, and I know all the zones that the sound system has, so I can design audio to mix and match portions of the show based on where the speakers are located. The cool thing about this system is that it syncs everything. As soon as it all starts, it starts in exact sync. So if you have one track playing over multiple areas, they are going to stay synced up. That's one way where you can take a small audio zone and you can make it a larger audio zone if you want. So that's QSYS. It's a very complex system. There is a lot of videos that QSC has put out about it, so I'm not going to go into any more detail here, but definitely a really cool way to run sound in a haunt. Now we're in the nitty-gritty backstage. We're actually at the very back of the building in our warehouse. This is the warehouse where we keep all the scenery and props that are too large to store elsewhere, costumes that are cumbersome, all the extra junk, for lack of a better term. When we actually make big physical changes in the show on a temporary basis, a lot of the stuff we pull from comes from back here. We have one guy on crew, and about half of his job is just keeping the back cleaned and organized because of the amount of stuff that comes in and goes out from day to day. This shelf has all these neatly organized bins, what we call our promo costumes. Promo costumes are very detailed. They have lots of cool pieces and they look really good in any light, and therefore those are the characters we send out on promos. So if you ever see us at a concert or Comic-Con or something like that, this is the crew of characters that goes out to those live events. Electrical accessories, building parts. A couple years ago, we did a show about nightmares, and so we have a child's bed left over from that show. This is a cart full of swords. This is a dragon skull that we made. Some static figures. We have a witch and a monkey and a lion and a banshee. Oh my! We have a Stargate for some reason. I don't even remember why we got this. Do you remember what it came from?
It was the entrance portal for the vortex tunnel during the time travel.
We did yeah, that's right. We did a time travel show, and we used this as like a piece of the facade. This is actually just a framework with spandex on it. This is right off the shelf from like a wedding catalog. It's like wedding decoration. Various door panels and wall panels with turf and with jail cell bars and industrial tanks, because you need those for some reason sometimes. We just have a stack of a dozen TVs. Lots of corrugated tubing. Lots of spare AstroTurf all the way up high. Christmas trees. And these aren't even the real Christmas trees. These are costumes. This is a PVC frame with camo net and garland and decorations, and this is actually a costume we'll put a live actor in so that the tree can shake at people when they walk by. Of course, we have lumber storage for our workshop, which we'll see later. All kinds of furniture. You never know what kind of furniture you're going to need. Stonehenge pieces that form our entryway that we set up outside during Halloween. These are some of the props from our werewolf show. These are like mounted hunters and bear traps. We made these out of plastic ourselves. St. Patrick's Day props. A lot of the stuff from our St. Patrick's Day show. Leprechauns. Zombie props, hospital props, gory props, chainsaw props, which are actually just chainsaws. Lots and lots of Christmas props. Christmas and Valentine's Day are our two most popular off-season shows, so a lot of cool Christmas stuff. The snowman up there, one of those is actually a costume like the Christmas tree where the actor can stand inside it. The claw, which we first made for Christmas, and you go through a room of stuffed animals with the claw overhead, and it's like you're inside the claw machine game, so that's kind of cool. And the hanging upside down guy, which we've used in a lot of different shows. And a pile of foam bodies. And the worm guys, these look like the guys from His Life. And an unfinished scarecrow mask. I actually think this goes back, if I recall, we've had this since we opened. This was something Alan was working on for like an original creature that never came to fruition, and for whatever reason the mask is still here. So that's the warehouse. Thank you for watching. This has been part one of our visit to Dark Hour. Stick around, keep an eye on the YouTube channel, because later there will be part 2 and part 3, and I'm going to get really deep into the inner workings of Dark Hour and pull back the curtain on some more stuff.